Today I wanted to read you a quote and issue you a challenge as parents. This quote comes from one of my favorite books and a must-read book, Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. I actually did an interview with this author that I will link to below this video on my website, and you can go check out that interview if you would like. It's a very fascinating, kind of give you the summed up version of the book, but a highly recommended book that I'd like to read you a quote from. Now keep in mind, this book is a book about the educational process of non-third world countries, so developed countries. It's about the intentional use of the public school system to actually create and brainwash children to grow up to be people who are more easily managed, less creative, and actually less productive. They'll just do what they're told. And this book is about how to raise your child so they're different. And it's got this very, very strong quote that I wanted to read to you and issue to you as a challenge just to get you to think about some things. So here's the quote. When, as happens with some frequency, I'm asked by parents for a single suggestion for changing the relationship between them and their kids for the better, I do not hesitate to recommend this. Do not think of them as kids. Childhood exists, but it's long over before we allow it to be. I'd start to worry, and this is the key part, I would start to worry if my kid were noticeably childish past the age of 7, and by 12. If you are not dealing with young men and women anxious to take their turn, disgusted with training wheels on anything, and able to walk about London, do 100-mile bike trips, and add enough value to the neighborhood that they have an independent income, if you do not see this by 12, you are doing something seriously wrong. Now that might sound like an incredibly strong statement. It might sound like, oh my gosh, just you maybe want to puke hearing me say that. Who would ever want to push a 12-year-old to be, that driven and all that kind of stuff? And I would like to challenge you to fight that thinking, because maybe your child's success and your child's chances in life are on the line here. You may have noticed in that last part that he said, part of the quote was, to walk about London. And what he was referring to there was a quote, not a quote, actually a story by Richard Branson of Virgin Records and now of Virgin Airlines and Virgin of 1,000 things. He owns lots of businesses, a multi-billionaire. And what the story that Richard Branson tells in his autobiography is when he was 4, his mother had took him, they lived in London, drove him across town and dropped him off in a place of London that they had never been before. And she turned to young Richard and said, Richard, do you think you can make it home from here? Richard said, yeah, I think so. And she then said, okay, I'll see you at home for dinner. Dropped him off and drove home. And didn't watch him from behind the corner to see what happened. She went home. Now, not that this would be the safest thing to do today, not that it was the safest thing to do then, but what happened is 8 to 10 hours later, young little Richard knocks on his house door and finally makes it home. And he's recounting this story and telling this story in his book and in several different cases about how what that did for him for the rest of his life. Imagine a 4-year-old walking about London for 10 hours. Nothing, as Richard says, nothing was ever felt to him to be too hard to do ever again in his life. And that's what this book is talking about with that quote. It's about preparing your child to be so much more capable than you ever thought they could be, and that it's really possible. And I've got a resource for you that I think will help you if you're interested in helping your kid become all they can be, will really point you in the right direction. It's over at Parenting for Success, and it is a new product that I've put together that you can go check out over there, but it's a bunch of stuff, psychological tricks, practical things, research-based stuff that actually, as researchers have found out, creates kids with more willpower, more social skills, more ability to manage their emotions, more ability to overcome fears, and I highly recommend you go check out that program. It's over at parentingforsuccess.com, 4 with the number 4, and it kind of will teach you more stuff if you're interested about actually accomplishing the quote that this talks about here in this book and not just poo-pooing it and moving on with your life. I challenge you to go challenge yourself, take this quote as a mantra of parenting, and treat it as a mission that is worthy of winning, because I think our children are worth it.